think it's doing you any service. I don't think, I don't see what the point of that is. Like, you got to find something else. A year is a long time. And please don't say Louis is Teresa's something else. I mean, and that's her knight in shining armor, and he has so much money. I mean, it's just money. It's how are you going to earn a living? So I think the sprinkle cookie launch was great. I don't know how good they did, and if they did well, double down on it. Think of another way to do it. If you listen to Melissa's podcast, and I haven't, but if you look at the content, which I did, she's talking about the holidays and plastic surgeries and, great. You have a podcast, talk about things. I mean, look, if you wanted to do well, you should probably talk about the show. But in this case, no, I would talk about everything else. So someone sent me a clip of Teresa recently talking about her brother. And yeah, that's what my brother did. And it was angry. And she's talking about her brother from season 4 or season 3 or season 7, whatever the fuck it was. Wrong strategy. It's the wrong strategy. I wouldn't talk about what your brother did in the past seasons. Nobody cares anymore. I wouldn't talk about, being up at Richie rumbling down with Joe Judice and I just too much. It's too much. If you live in the past, it leads to depression. If you live in the future, it leads to anxiety. Because listen, 99% of your future analysis is in your head, all the bad things, and it never happens. Now, I'm not so great at that because I'm a lawyer, and lawyers are always anticipating the shoe to drop. But living in the future, I think, causes anxiety. Living in the past causes depression. You live in the present. So I just think if you look at their podcasts, and I don't listen to either one of them, but the clips that all of you love to send me, Melissa seems to be rebranding better. And yeah, she had Marge on and this and that, and they slipped a little bit into the New Jersey talk. But in general, you have a podcast, great, talk about things other than RHONJ. And talking about the future of it, fine. That is different than rehashing and going back. And someone sent me a clip of Teresa, and she was so angry talking about the brother. And it's like, oh my God, it's over. To me, it's the wrong way to handle this. I would rebrand over the next year as much as you could and find something to do. And I would just talk about other things, and I wouldn't do interviews about because the RHONJ will come up unless you have something to promote. So I do think Melissa is handling this better. I truly think at some point, to me, it's starting to seem like that old school desperate with Teresa. That's just me, where like I think Rinna has had such a great life post Housewives. I think that Melissa is handling it when she says, oh, please, like, when Teresa says thank you for the sprinkle cookies, and Melissa's like, thank you for, giving you someone to fight with for the past however many years. I think Melissa, it's not what's being said. They're all talking about it. Melissa just seems lighter. You can't fake that, You can't say, I really don't care what someone says and then be so angry. If you really, truly are just light about things, just to me, Melissa seems lighter. So I think Teresa is going to have a hard time just not living in the past and listen, I'm not even knocking her. I'm not knocking you. You went to jail. Your husband was deported. Now you're in love with this guy. You married him, and the whole world says he's a scumbag. Like, I don't even blame her, but you gotta do it. You gotta spend the next year focusing. Listen, she's done those podcast live things, the thing that Dorinda was canceled with Margaret. I don't know how much those make a night, but could you, and that is talking about New Jersey, but that's now money. So could you do 5 of those a week? Can you get yourself booked? I don't know. Again, call a wham. Can you book yourself once a month? I mean, how much money does that make? Maybe that's your answer, but you got to figure something out. So 2026 is 2026. Here's the good news, maybe for Teresa, maybe. This is what I think is the good news, honestly, because I think that rebooting this show completely, I just don't think it's going to happen. So I think if you were going to recast this with some newbies and Melissa and Dolores and Fuda and Cabral, I think it is easier to find 3 newbies to work with those 4 people and keep Melissa than it is to bring back Teresa and have people forget the toxicity and the stench that we just left around Teresa. And what I mean by that is if we were going to go forward with Melissa and even Dolores and Cabral and Fuda, I think it's easier to say we need like 3 or 4 new girls in New Jersey. I don't think that's so hard to find. We've done bad casting a lot, but look at Pedantry and look at Bronwyn and look at Stacey Rush. We've gotten it right. So great. And look at freaking Buzama St. John. So get the right 3 girls, take your time. I don't think that takes a year. So I think if we were so certain that we were going to recast around Melissa, I think that is easier to do to find people. I think it's harder to say we can't lose Teresa. Of course, she is the show. We have to bring Teresa back. Look at her social media. Look at her comments. Look at her podcast. She is one angry woman living in the past. And we need that we will break her before she just says, I'm ready to come back. No, you never win against Bravo. So I think pushing this out may be a good sign for Teresa. Maybe it's like we got to bring her back, but we really, really got to change her life. We really got to change her mindset. We really got to stop her talking about the past. And that is going to take months and months and a year. So maybe pushing it out to 2026 is maybe a good sign for Teresa. And maybe it's like, to get everybody, because I mean, people are not happy with Teresa. If you look at my comments, and I don't know, maybe that's just my comments, but I think, and I'm not saying I'm convinced Teresa's coming back. I'm just saying maybe this long 1 year is actually good for her because I think it's easier to find people to work with Melissa than it is to bring Teresa back and have everyone forget what a fucking animal she is, which a year from now we'll forget. But then again, you got to reinvent yourself, Teresa. You have to be completely different in a year. I agree. I'm not sure she can do that. Let's see. And also, why is Teresa doing TikToks and selling things and doing all this stuff online on like TikTok and not Vinavia? Isn't that Louis' app that's supposed to handle all this? What happened to that? Listen, I wanted to talk about more than RHONJ. I really didn't want to spend this whole time talking about RHONJ. I want to talk about Kyle and Mauricio and Lisa Vanderpump and Kristen Doty. But now we don't have fucking time. So I don't know. I just figured I would get that out because we've really never talked about Andy's statement. I believe it. I don't think it's going to be pushed up. I don't think it's automatically 2026 means 2026. And if you look at that interview, he said we're going to start to discuss it 2026. I don't know if that means we're going to have all the answers and we're going to announce it in 2026. Seemed to me like they were just going to start to deal with it in 2026, which is a really long time away. I also want to talk about Bethany and the drones. I mean, of all states, the drones have to be over New Jersey. Are you kidding me? So no dog in the race. I think Melissa's handling it better. I think financially, if New Jersey is over, for another year, I think Teresa is the person that will feel it the most. I think she made